definitely not easy to get treated differently for having the lack of power, since humiliation can be quite the devastating experience, but what if that certain someone has still managed to become stronger even when having little to no power? Now this is the kind of action I'm asking for, so do prepare yourselves as we are taking a look at 10 protagonists who got humiliated for being weak but still turned out to be really strong. If you are new around here, then please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel with the notification bell icon turned on to stay up to date with the latest anime news and recommendations right at your doorstep. Now, without keeping y'all waiting, let us begin with the video. It's time to begin this video with a newly airing anime series that goes by the name of Ayakashi Triangle. Centered around two protagonists, both childhood friends that have the power to see Ayakashi, or in terms what we call yokai creatures, that roam around freely in the world. Matsuri is an evil yokai hunter, but also to some extent, his powers actually allow him to transform into a girl, meaning this is kind of a gender bender situation of an anime that's actually pretty entertaining. If you're into a bit of fan service, then this one might be just the thing that you're looking for. Well, sure, I get what you're doing, but if you are looking for one that is a bit more expressive about it, then you're in luck. It'll do just that to bring you the quality stuff that you are looking for. Now, if you're looking for some badass anime ninja fights, then this is probably for you. Brave 10 is a ninja shonen anime about Sanada Yukimura and his 10 heroes. The anime is so entertaining. I believe that is what the creators at TMS Entertainment intended, and this is what they delivered. Basically, the story goes along something like this. Strong samurai meets priestess being chased and saves her from her pursuers. Priestess then grows attached to him and decides to stick to him for pretty much protection. It's kind of similar to an anime called Yona of the Dawn, which if you like that anime, then this one here comes really close to it, and it's really good. Majikoi Samurai Girls. Yes, this here is a samurai-focused series with cool fighting action, with the female cast being the strongest point of the series. However, meanwhile, the male protagonist is a weakling but does excel in brain power and strategy. A lot of characters in anime are quite similar, with just using their brain to beat their enemy, and people may find some enjoyment in that. The action and fan service both combine together beautifully well, but in sometimes, it is slightly overdramatic. The anime is based off of a visual novel, and some would argue that the art is kind of different, leading to the anime looking worse than the visual novel, but you can't really expect everything to be nailed perfectly. So, if you're into martial arts focused anime with the competition against each class, or even stopping some bad guys from having their way, then you should definitely check out this series. Next up on the list we have is World Break, and as a person who really enjoys the harem genre, this anime isn't really entirely original in its character personalities. However, it made it up for its story that it has. The story itself is a really good one. Now, there are people who have memories of previous lives, and they had, some sort of special weapons and spells from it. The world is constantly under attack by monsters whom are fought by and said are special users. That's more or less the background story, with the show centered around the main male character who turns out to be one of the strongest characters in the entire show. The only downside, however, is that the past lives after the reincarnation were not really developed very well, but overall, I did enjoy this a lot, especially with how cool the male protagonist is. This here is a newly airing isekai series called The Reincarnation of the Strongest Exorcist in Another World. The story of a legendary exorcist who was on the verge of death, and upon using a secret reincarnation technique skill, he was then sent to another world and summoned by a noble family. He can't really use any sort of magic, thus people were seeing him as a useless being. But what he can use is, of course, his exorcist techniques and spells beyond what this world is capable of. He can summon mythical creatures he captured and surpass even the hero of the other world with ease thanks to his abilities that stuck with him to the new world. It's a fairly entertaining isekai, and this anime might look generic at first glance, but trust me, it may just surprise you.
そう、前世で最強となった僕なら死人を蘇らせることくらい。
Just remember guys, friendship is far more important than money itself. This anime does a very good job at highlighting the fact that friends shouldn't betray each other no matter one's debt. But sometimes people do take risks to do the opposite. Tomodachi Game, or Friendship Game, is a high-stake anime series where a group of high schoolers are abducted to play games. Not death games, just regular games with the consequence of getting one's debt raised even further, which can lead to doom. These games test friendship levels, whether they will answer questions truthfully or maybe even betray one another.
そうね、このメンバーだったら。
何も聞く必要はないな。
友達だもん。友達だもん。
It's quite intense for sure, but also it features a protagonist who may just be as smart as Aino Kuji from Classroom of the Elite due to his ability to easily outsmart people using his tactics to his advantage.
その目が許せなかった。蹴って殴って。
Now, I'm sure we can all agree that, 8-Bit Studio is definitely one of the best in the anime industry for creating some of the best anime. Tokyo Ravens, however, started off with the feeling of being mediocre and ended with an absolute banger. This anime was surprisingly fun to watch. As I started watching this anime, I had the feeling that the main character, Harutora, was going to be one of those boring mains to watch in the long run, but as I kept following the story, it became more and more interesting to follow this boring main character and his friends. Taking on enemy after enemy, trying to become powerful shamans was only a fraction of what the story was really focusing on. Still, there are parts in the story that are, half-heartedly explained, leaving you with a big question mark as to what is really going on and why. It was really worth it because this show had a lot more depth than meets the eye, and it gets better as it moves along.
能目三万だバサなんだその結界は旗やうんたらた看板
Now, you should probably ask yourself this question. Are you a fan of anime focused on mystery solving, which involves epic action sequences and twists that you wouldn't even expect? Well, I got you all covered here with an anime here called Inspector.
部活に破壊すれば大学生たちはおそらく命を落とします。
Usually in the mystery genre, they all use the evidence and logic they have to search for the truth, but instead, Inspector uses all the evidence and logic it has to create a lie. The story is about two characters, one of which is a goddess of wisdom for the yokai who live in the world, and the other is a seemingly plain human who is not what he seems because he's actually immortal, meaning he cannot die and is immortal to death. The two of them band together and they try to solve the worries and concerns of the yokai around them. Darwin's Game is probably one of the best additions into the survival game genre. One of the things that Darwin's Game does that many others in the genre do as well is to make the setting of the story take place in a realistic world modeling our own. This, however, raises questions once the survival games actually start, such as how the heck is such a game of such a momentous scale be orchestrated and executed in a society like this? How on earth are people able to receive magical abilities just by opening an app, and why does the game even exist in the first place?
こっちは楽しくなんてねえって。
嘘だろ。
It all creates these interesting questions that will be answered all when watching this series, but in general, each character in this show receives a special ability to use during battle, and they are all so unique and epic to witness in some badass fights that will take place in Darwin's Game. Now, with a fan-favorite isekai anime that I know many of you have watched, but most likely some haven't yet, this here is called Arifureta, From Commonplace to the World's Strongest. Following a class that was sent to another world, the protagonist among the rest of them was the weakest member with a power so useless he was actually betrayed by a classmate and thrown to the deepest dungeon levels where Nagumo had to survive somehow in the hopes of making it back up to the surface, and let me tell you, it was brutal and not easy. Let's just say that he actually ate a monster, because he got hungry, and that monster gave him power beyond anything else, and that changed his form from a weakling to a badass human being. Now with his arsenal of weapons and magic, he can defeat stronger monsters and reunite with his class and put down the traitor who did this to him. You just made it to the end of the video and witnessed 10 protagonists who got humiliated for being weak but turned out to be strong. If I have managed to leave any anime out in particular that I thought would be a great issue on the list, then please let me know in the comment section down below, as I'd love to hear your very own opinion, or just comment down below what you thought about the video in general, as I'd always appreciate the feedback. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be seeing you all in the next one.